Please welcome to the stage the moderator, Christine Areda, Strategic Advisor to the Executive President and Board Member at the National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt, North Africa, IGF, and Arab IGF.
Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, both here in our plenary hall, and those joining us online from around the world. A warm welcome to all of you. It's my distinct honor and pleasure to be welcoming you to the IGF 2025 NRI main session titled Multi-Stakeholder Dialogue Governance Beyond 2025. My name is Christine Areda with the Egyptian government, and I have the privilege to be your moderator for today. So we are meeting at a pivotal moment for global internet governance, 2 decades after the World Summit on the Information Society and well into the digital decade of the 2030 agenda. And we find ourselves reflecting not only on past achievements, but also on how we can collectively ensure a more inclusive and a transparent and resilient digital future. The multi-stakeholder model has been foundational to this journey, and today we aim to both reaffirm and rethink it for a rapid evolving world. So with over 176 national, regional, and youth IGFs, collectively known as the NRIs, who are contributing their voices and experiences to this session, we are anchored in the diverse realities of digital governance on the ground. This is not only a testament to the strengths of the local multi-stakeholder communities, but a demonstration of how they can shape and influence global policy. So our goal for today's session is threefold. We will draw on evidence-based insights from the NRIs to assess how the multi-stakeholder approach to internet and digital governance has been functioning, and to highlight its tangible impact at grassroots level. We will also explore opportunities for strengthening the multi-stakeholder digital governance beyond 2025, particularly within the ongoing WSIS Plus 20 review, but also in light of the Sao Paulo multi-stakeholder guidelines and the adoption of the Global Digital Compact. And thirdly, we will spotlight practical and forward-looking proposals to enhance global digital governance, including adapting governance structures to new technologies and developments. So let me quickly mention a few organizational remarks. We will begin by hearing from 7 speakers who represent various NRI communities and who will be setting the scene for us. I kindly ask each speaker to keep remarks at 4 minutes. And following that, we will have an open floor discussion with all of you and have a broader exchange so we can have questions and input and reflections. I encourage all of us to think not only in terms of challenges, but also in terms of opportunities and possibilities, and how can we engage the wider community across the world. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers for today. So from Canada IGF, representing Canada IGF, we have Mr. Byron Holland, President and CEO of CIRA Canada. From the Lesotho IGF, we have Honorable Minister, Ms. Nitati Morosi, Minister of Information, Science, Technology and Innovation, Lesotho. From Ireland IGF, we have Mr. Declan McDermott, Internet Policy and Regulatory Affairs Manager, .ie Ireland. Representing Argentina IGF, we have Ms. Agostina Ordonez, Chief of Advisor to Deputy in the National Congress in Argentina and Coordinator of the Gender and Public Policy Forum at Yale University, Argentina. And representing APR IGF, we have Ms. Joyce Chen, Senior Advisor, Strategic Relations, APNIC, Australia, Singapore. And from representing Pacific IGF, we have Mrs. Sarai Falopoulou-Devitia, Chief Operating Officer, National University of Samoa. And representing North African IGF and Arab IGF, we have Mr. Ahmed Farak, Senior Policy and International Relations Specialist, National Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt. Please, a warm welcome to our speakers today. So welcome everyone, and let us start with our panel today. Our first question is for Byron. Byron, if you can talk to us about how the multi-stakeholder approach can be strengthened within UN-led processes, such as the WSIS Plus 20 review and the Global Digital Compact, to ensure more inclusive, transparent, and effective digital governance. Byron, please.
Well, thanks for the question, Christine, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Byron, and I'm the President and CEO of CIRA, the Canadian Internet Registration Authority. Most people know us for being the CCTLD operator for .ca, but we are also the Secretariat for the Canadian Internet Governance Forum, or the CIGF. To your question, Christine, in UN processes like the upcoming WSIS Plus 20 review, I think the multi-stakeholder approach can and should be strengthened, both in how the process is actually conducted and in its outcomes, as well as in its ability to build trust and confidence. And I'm going to focus on a few points. Primarily informed by my own organization's work convening the CIGF, but also personally having participated in global IGF since, I can't believe it, 2008. But when it comes to processes, non-governmental stakeholders really need to be enabled to contribute meaningfully and consistently to the WSIS Plus 20 review, with clear visibility on how their input is being used or not. Many NRIs that engage in the Global Digital Compact process are expected and are expecting to contribute to the upcoming WSIS Plus 20 review. And as the global IGF's mandate itself comes under review, these initiatives, I think, can offer valuable perspectives on the IGF's wide-ranging and hopefully long-term impact. The process NRIs and other stakeholders participate in really must be transparent, comprehensible, actionable, and accessible, both to the commonly identified groups like academia or the private sector, but also to the diversity of other stakeholders, be they linguistic, cultural, geographic, or other as well. And I think this means in practice, providing ample outreach and notice for consultations, which can be difficult to find and understand when, to ensure transparency by posting submissions publicly, and establishing a connection between those contributions and how they shape outcomes, or not. And these are just a few, but I think really concrete examples that can make a significant difference. But we don't have to invent the wheel again. There are other entities like the Net Mondial Plus 10 statement that offer valuable guidance to how multilateral processes like the WSIS Plus 20 can integrate multi-stakeholder elements to make processes stronger. And as far as outcomes go, I think the WSIS Plus 20 reviewed outcome document should explicitly support the multi-stakeholder model of internet governance. I mean, the original WSIS process, particularly the Tunis agenda, was foundational in defining this very model. Now we have a critical opportunity to strengthen and future enable it. In the WSIS Plus 20 review outcomes, CIRA strongly supports a long-term mandate for the global IGF, along with enhanced institutional resourcing. I think this would reflect the forum's pivotal role in shaping discourse around internet governance and related policy issues, as well as the broader ecosystem that it fosters, including all the bottom-up work of the NRIs. And finally, confidence and trust. You know, early drafts of the GDC did not include any references to the technical community, language that's been common for literally decades. It worked its way back into the final draft, but I would argue only after unnecessary effort. Truly an unforced error. And again, we see some questionable wording regarding the tech community in the elements paper. Intentional or not, an unforced error. It unnecessarily diminishes confidence and trust in the process. If we're going to have a robust model of internet governance globally, multi-stakeholder processes are critical, even in multilateral environments like the WSIS Plus 20 review. In fact, I think done effectively with clear processes and strong feedback loops, multi-stakeholder processes have significant potential to instill confidence and dramatically strengthen UN processes like the WSIS Plus 20 review. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Byron, and thank you for reminding us of the core principles that are at the essence of that whole multi-stakeholder model. So now I turn to Honorable Minister Nitati, and if you can also give us your perspective on that same question, particularly from the perspective of governments and their role in the multi-stakeholder model evolution. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christine. I want to first start by affirming my country's strong belief in multi-stakeholder model, not simply as a matter of principle, but as a core strategy for building digital governance that is inclusive, resilient, and future-ready, as a model that allows all voices to be heard. From a government perspective, our role in shaping this model must go beyond simply participating. We must actively enable and protect multi-stakeholderism within global forums, such as Global Digital Compact and WSIS Plus 20 review. That means advocating for institutional commitments that ensures that civil society, the academia, technical communities, and the private sector are not merely invited to such forums to sit around the table, but that their inputs carries real influence. In Lesotho, our ministry organizes the Lesotho Internet Governance Forum annually in partnership with the civil society, the private sector, academia, and development partners. This national platform allows all voices to contribute to the shaping of digital policy. It exemplifies our commitment to collaborative decision-making and ensures policy coherence with global norms, while reflecting national realities. The 2025 edition of the Lesotho IGF is already under preparation as we speak. Our recently adopted National Digital Transformation Strategy builds on this foundation. It embeds on whole of society governance model with a multi-sector advisory council, stakeholder engagement forums, and innovation sandboxes, because we believe digital ecosystem must be co-owned. So internationally, we believe that the same approach must apply. The multi-stakeholder model must be institutionalized, not treated as a token gesture in intergovernmental settings. This includes ensuring meaningful participation of smaller states and underrepresented regions, investing in capacity building, and enabling transparency and accountability across all stakeholder categories. Governments like Lesotho have a duty to model this inclusivity at home and advocate for it abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Nitati, and I think it's very inspiring to see that view coming from the government and the support for the national IGF. So now I turn to Declan. So Declan, from your point of view, what lessons learned from the experience of NRIs demonstrate the tangible benefits and impacts of multi-stakeholder governance, and how can these be actually scaled and replicated on a global level?
Yes, well, thank you. First off, everybody, my name is Declan McDermott. I'm here as the coordinator for the Ireland IGF. It is fantastic to be here in Norway. But I would like to just kind of preface at first, just to establish that we are like a new NRI. We just held our very first inaugural event several weeks ago, but it has had very positive reception, and it's been very, very encouraging so far. But I would say that the main lessons learned for me in coordinating it over the last year has been there's a very real appetite, I think, among all the stakeholder groups to really take part in these processes. And there's a very real desire for just everyday people to, have their voices heard. People really do, they care deeply about how the internet functions and how it is governed. And we really did not need to pull any teeth, I find, to get people to participate. most of the time we simply just had to explain exactly what the IGF was or what the NRI was trying to accomplish. And most of the time, the actual response would be like, oh, we should have done this years ago, or this sounds like an amazing idea and would love to participate. And I think that that really does speak to the convening power that the IGF has and that NRIs should and also can have. We had policymakers talk to us afterwards saying that they appreciated how engaging the sessions were and that they actually walked away with different insights and different perspectives that they had previously. And just yesterday, I had a civil society organization say that at that event that they were able to make connections that they hadn't been able to elsewhere. So I think that it really does demonstrate that there is benefit to having these multi-stakeholder fora in ways that are open and that are inclusive and transparent, free from having to negotiate outcomes, to just sort of have these candid discussions. And I think that there really is benefit to these multi-stakeholder discussions. But to point with your second question, now this is a very watered down summary of just the theory. There is a school of thought when it comes to social innovations and how to scale them. And generally it's held that there are three broad approaches for scaling. It would be scaling out, which would be increasing the reach of your initiative. So for a local NRI, this would be getting on more people's radars or trying to get more people to attend or participate in your events. But for the global NRI community, this means replicating that model in new jurisdictions and in new territories where there isn't an NRI. The other second option is scaling up, where instead of trying to increase your reach, you're trying to increase the initiative's impact, especially when it comes to policy making or for lawmaking. So for a local NRI, it's asking questions like how much are they contributing to their local policy making processes, or how much influence or how much are they contributing to that. For the global NRI community, it's talking about how effective is the community as a whole contributing to these larger processes like the WSIS Plus 20 review, or how effective are we as a community at taking local voices and really amplifying that on the global scale. The final one would be scaling deeply. And this actually deals more with kind of fostering cultural change and trying to really shift mindsets, I think, in the long run by promoting learning and promoting different principles such as multi-stakeholderism. I think the best example that I can think of this would be the schools of internet governance, where you have different individuals from different regions or sectors, learning about the multi-stakeholder approaches to internet governance, perhaps shifting the way that they engage with it or understand it, or how to engage with their policymakers, and then taking that knowledge back home, where they can either replicate an NRI model there, or increase the effectiveness or deepen the impact of their NRI model. So I'll conclude by just saying that obviously these are very broad theoretical approaches, but I would encourage local NRIs and the community as a whole to really kind of look at where they are in stages of growth to see if any of them make sense for them. For us, as a very new NRI, for instance, we are looking at scaling out, just trying to let people know that we exist and get on people's radars. But I would encourage to kind of, as just a general exercise to see if any of these approaches make sense for other communities.
Yes, thank you very much. Very inspiring as well, because that scaling part of whether going deeply or even reaching out is exactly, I think, it's what about the essence of that whole NRI network. So I will turn to you, Agostina, for that same question as well, if you can give us your views on that.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to speak in Spanish, so if you want to put your headphones on.
Phonos. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here, to Anya, for everything she's been doing. We worked all year. So I think this really deserves a great applause. It's a lot of work that's invested here. Now, your question. This IGF, I think, is particularly relevant for that question. It's not only about renovating the mandate. What do we want? What have we learned so far from the previous IGFs? And I think the first thing we have to take into account is that the IGF core is the national initiatives and the regional initiatives. So it's important to see what worked, not only at the global level, what worked at the regional and local levels. In Latin America, we have 3 very concrete examples I'd like to share. They have to do with the impact, which is what the previous speaker spoke about, the impact we have. We're people from different parts in the world. We have made efforts to come here, costs money, time. So why are we doing this? What's the impact that we have? What's the result of all this work? We talk and we talk. Is that it? Or are we doing something serious? Secondly, the selection of topics. There is an example from Colombia, but it is also the opening up to other communities, not only the topics that are defined by the Community in general, but they can bring in new things that we haven't even thought about, other viewpoints. Now, the role of youth in Latin America is especially important, and I'm very glad it's been mentioned previously, because with a multi-stakeholder focus, we have to have youth at the center. It's not just another sector, because all of the other sectors, the people who talk and the principal sessions, we don't see the youth because haven't reached a high sufficient level. They're not that visible anymore, but but we have to have them present. So the money is the overarching of all 3. We need money. So this is just very briefly how we could do this in Latin America. We need more involvement. We've had a minister here. We need more involvement from politicians, those who really make the decisions, legislators. And in that sense, we should have another round of applause for the parliamentarians who've been here. It is a wonderful BITRAC parliament. I think this has been covered partly, but I think it's also necessary that we have more ministers involved. We need to have politicians here who can really do something, not just make recommendations, because that's what it's going to be if they're not here. For example, the IGF that decides on when we decide on the topics, we just have to have people propose topics that we haven't even thought about. We have to have a vote, and we vote for, and we use the one that's most voted for. That gives the opportunity for other people who haven't really thought this to be the most important to understand that there are other ideas out there for groups that are more vulnerable, further away, and they can also have their proposals on the table. About youth, I think Eliges from Brazil, that's a very good example. They have summer schools, they have courses, they have focus groups, and the best that have performed best over the year are given a grant, and then they can attend the regional and global meetings. I think these are 3 concrete experiences that we could learn from here, and thank you. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Here, and I take your mention about the inclusion of youth specifically as a very important topic. So, Joyce, I will turn to you from the other side of of the globe. And in your view, what concrete measures can enhance the participation of different stakeholders in global digital cooperation frameworks?
Thank you so much, Christine, for the question. And I might start off with first talking about the barrier to participation. I think we know the obvious ones, and we've talked about the obvious ones for many, many years. Some of them are language, multilingualism, resources, funding, etc. One big barrier I want to address is the amount of baggage the internet community is carrying from conversations 20 years ago. For us to start a conversation, we need to spend hours first explaining the background, the context, setting the scene, how we got here, before we can even talk about how we're moving ahead. This is very overwhelming, for newcomers especially, because we can't have a conversation on, say, the WSIS without first elucidating the battles fought and all the meaning encoded between the lines. Every word is fraught with meaning, and it is daunting for many people to engage and participate. I've been doing this for 10 years which is genuinely young in the internet governance world and internet governance ecosystem. And I'm still constantly playing catch up, listening to the stories around the fire. The burden is getting heavier, and I think we need to do a better job of moving in a way that we relieve the burden from one another. So, any measures to enhance participation in all these conversations need to first start with the storytelling. There are avenues for this. At the APR-IGF, which is the Asia-Pacific Regional IGF, we convened the WSIS Plus 20 working group and recently put together the inaugural webinar for our community to function as a backgrounder and level-setting exercise. We will then continue to organize town halls for the community to share their views and eventually be able to hopefully come to some consensus positions. And this is from the APR-IGF community. For the past year, there have been many online resources that describe the history and the importance of the multi-stakeholder model. The NRIs play a critical role in this tribal ecosystem because we connect the various stakeholder groups and try to articulate what issues are important to us and how that feeds back into global digital cooperation frameworks like the GDC and the WSIS. Some local communities have coalesced around their national IGF networks to form multi-stakeholder consultation groups that function as sounding boards for their governments. Outside the NRIs, there are also several coalitions like the Technical Community Coalition on Multi-Stakeholderism, TCCCM, which I'm a big fan of, that has done a lot of work to gather the technical operators and upskill our knowledge and provide a safe space to discuss first the GDC and now the WSIS Plus 20 to develop positions that we can bring back to our communities and governments or to craft statements as part of the consultation process. But is this enough? I'm interested to know how we can bring people to the table. The multi-stakeholder model is all about bringing people of diverse backgrounds and perspectives to the table, participating on equal footing. The UN construct of closed-room multilateral negotiations combined with multi-stakeholder informal consultations is a step in the right direction. But does it go far enough? The COFAX convening a multi-stakeholder sounding board, even better. If more governments would be willing to take on non-governmental advisors into their delegations, we would be in a much better place. To quote the Sao Paulo guidelines, we need to foster a safe, trustworthy, and fair environment where imbalances between participants are addressed and civil society, the private sector, academia, and the technical community are able to meaningfully participate in multilateral processes. We are doing everything we can to gather the internet community to not just participate, but to do so on equal footing and be part of the decision-making and agenda setting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joyce. And I will turn to you, Sarai, with the same question, but from the perspective of a small island and developing state perspective, please.
Thank you for the question. From the perspective of the small island development states, or the SIDS, multi-stakeholder governance is not merely an ideal. It is an absolute necessity and complex balancing act. As the chair of the Pacific Islands chapter of Internet Society, we hosted Pacific IGF. Next week, we'll have our Pacific IGF in Apia, Samoa. And this is our main and annual event every year. I can attest that for SIDS effective, global digital cooperation hinges on overcoming unique vulnerabilities and leveraging the collective expertise that only a true multi-stakeholder approach can provide. From SIDS perspective, multi-stakeholder governance is really important to us. Why? Because of resource scarcity. SIDS often have limited human resources, financial, technical resources within government agencies. So relying solely on government-led processes would severely constrain their ability to engage meaningfully. Adopting or adapting multi-stakeholder approach will engage us, SIDS, to tap into expertise of our local civil society, private sectors, academia, and technical communities. This will amplify our national capacity. Another one, because we are vulnerable to amplification. So SIDS face unique challenges like climate change. It impacts us in rising sea levels, extreme weather, our geographical isolation, small domestic markets. So if we adapt or we continue using a multi-stakeholder governance approach, this is crucial to co-design solutions that are resilient and contextualized or specific. Another one is bridging the digital divide, because we are living in geographical states for all our SIDS. Not only the connectivity, but for affordability as well. Digital literacy. These are relevant local content. For a multi-stakeholder approach, this ensures that the efforts to bridge these divides are holistic or involving communities. There are lots of perspectives of multi-stakeholder that the SIDS are looking to adopt. So what SIDS want from multi-stakeholder governance and how to achieve it? Prioritize accessibility and affordability of connectivity. How dedicate our funding mechanism in public-private partnerships to tailor for SIDS unique. Go to the community, localize it, take the responsibility so that they feel the value and the impactful of that. Promote the resilient and the climate smart digital infrastructure. Being involved with this multi-stakeholderism will incorporate climate resilience. And this will improve the digital infrastructure projects as well as the warning systems. Lastly, foster local capacity building, as Joyce mentioned. There's a lot of capacity building being developed and being deployed. ITU, ABNIC, here at IGF, ABR-IGF, there's a lot is out there. For us, we targeted training support for local digital education initiatives to empower. Give the specific programs that is a need, not just the overall. So if you go to the community, you localize it so that it's relevant, the content is there. So that's what covers persons with disabilities as well. So to conclude with that, my view, as from the SIDS perspective, multi-stakeholder governance is not a luxury, but a fundamental operating principle for survival and sustainable development in the digital age. It's about empowering to active shapers, not just passive recipients of a global digital norms and policies. As a chair of the Pacific Internet chapter, my view is that global digital cooperation for frameworks must prioritize concrete, actionable measures. I heard it this morning and this afternoon about actionable measures to truly empower SIDS stakeholders, recognizing the unique vulnerabilities and invaluable contributions to a truly inclusive digital future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarai. And we will listen to our last speaker. So Ahmed, how do you think in the context of digital public policy and especially with the evolution of new technologies, how should the multi-stakeholder approach adapt to remain relevant and effective for digital governance?
Thank you, Christine, for your excellent moderation as usual, and it's a great pleasure to be here in this important session, and allow me to switch in Arabic. So you can use the headset, please. حينما نتكلم عن تطوير النهج التعددي في ظل.
Thank you. So, what is it we are all talking about, really? We're trying to develop the multi-stakeholder approach. I'm talking here about the Middle East approach to the IGF and the local IGF. We have different chapters, and we see different fora on the national level as well in our region. Those different fora are more and more numerous. What we're really trying to do is have a true multi-stakeholder approach. We are developing this approach as we speak, and the goal is for it to be more efficient for our economies and for other aspects as well. So what I'm going to try to explain is how we really can develop this approach in order for it to be more inclusive, include more women, include more people with disabilities. The idea being to also have researchers more involved. At this IGF, we've insisted a lot on this inclusiveness, but of course, this is not enough in isolation. What we really want is a more efficient kind of participation. And we want AI to be fully part of this participation. We can't really have superficial consultations anymore. We really have to have in-depth consultations. What we really need to do, if you ask me, is start from scratch. Let's not wait for the end of the process here. We really need the different stakeholders to be connected, and they need to be connected from the get-go. We will need to have a very difficult balance between a certain amount of firmness, a certain amount of flexibility. It's very difficult to obtain. So why we need flexibility? Well, that's to include most people, but at the same time, we need a firm hand in order for there not to be abuse in the use of data along the way. What we see as IGF's added value is its value for the whole value chain. The problem in our region is that all the rules regarding IA and internet governance are not very well known in our region. We think that internet governance will not be enough in the future. We need to keep the process open, and we need to see who else we need to have in it and include the human aspect. Thank you.
I would like to turn to the audience and have your perspective as well. We will have in the room 2 microphones, one to the left, and one in both sides, left and right. And I will ask you to start lining up. We also have, we can take questions online. I think we have Lily as our remote moderator. So I will ask her also if there are any questions that are coming online to also stand at the mic. And Lily, I do not see you. If you're in the room, please just raise your hand. Wonderful. Now I see you. So I will kindly ask you to alert us by standing at the mic if there are any interventions from the floor. So I will go directly to the first question. Please, sir, please introduce yourself, state your comment or question, and be brief so that we can allow for other questions.
Thank you. This is Mohammad Abdul Hakonu from Bangladesh IGF. Myself engaged with national IGF process, including initiative like Universal Acceptance Day in local language. How can we ensure that multi-stakeholder digital governance meaningfully includes linguistic culture and regional diversity, especially from the Global South within global frameworks such as the WSIS Plus 20 review and the Global Digital Compact? Thank you. This is my observation.
Thank you, sir. I can take another question and then we can turn. Is there someone at the... Please, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Naza Nicholas Kirama from Tanzania IGF. And what I wanted to contribute is that we are discussing about renewing the mandate of the IGF and the WSIS Plus 20 to become permanent. And one of the suggestions that I have as a person who has been doing this work on the ground is for the national IGFs to establish things like trust funds. And these trust funds will enable us to continue to be sustainable for the future. That is what we are currently doing in Tanzania, to establish a trust fund for the national IGF, because we know for the past 5-6 years, our national IGF has been a major player in terms of driving policy change and policy and acting new legislations. For example, the data protection in Tanzania, we, as the national IGF, has been very instrumental in terms of pushing for it to come to fruition. So I believe that national IGF, the NRIs, are critical for the regions and the nations as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our first question was about the linguistic diversity. And I don't know if maybe Augustina or Ahmed or maybe someone else would like to take that question.
You go.
So, Ahmed, please go ahead.
أنا أعتقد لو أنا فهمت السؤال صح، احنا بنتكلم على الكولابوريشن.
Did I understand the question correctly? We are talking about cooperation between the GDC.
The different processes, if this is what was meant. So language and how to include, to be inclusive by linguistic diversity.
Okay. التحديات احنا في المسارات الإقليمية والدولية actually بنواجه تحديات اللغة.
Well, actually, during the different local and regional pathways and journeys, we are up against linguistic challenges and financing challenges. So each local and regional initiative is trying to get the resources that they need and other types of solutions. So we are looking to the international community to get some help. One question or one issue, for instance. In our region, we have 3 languages. We speak English, French, and Arabic. And we always try to offer interpretation services, simultaneous interpretation services, and sometimes we use English when we speak. So we are talking here about the content that needs to be accessible in the local and regional languages, and that's a real challenge. We need financial resources that would allow us to offer content in a local or regional language in our Arabic-speaking region. And I believe this should be the case in all regions, by the way. In each region, the priority should be to offer solutions.
Funding and resources, and Agustina, you want to come in on that?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to speak in Spanish. As for this question,
I think that this is one of the greatest challenges that we have, not only because, well, for instance, here in EGF, here we have interpretation. In the workshops, we don't have interpretation. So what happens? There's a lot of people who would like to speak, and because they don't know any other language, they cannot speak. And I understand that we cannot have interpretation into all languages. It's logical. Maybe someday with artificial intelligence, or maybe today, I don't know, it would be good to explore that opportunity if it exists. But thanks to the interpreters, thank you for your work. Well, I think this is one of the great challenges we have, but also because the big problem to me are the definitions and the concepts. They are in a language that is not my language, and maybe it has a different meaning for others than for me. So in the words, well, words create realities, and every word has a meaning. Maybe we don't understand each other completely. Maybe there's cultural, social, and historic baggage that comes with the words. And so the first thing we could do is with IGF, for instance, is at least to try to have interpretation in all sessions and also the workshops. And also it's a question of finances, of money. But if you're here in Norway, one could talk with the embassies for the different languages and ask if the embassies could provide interpreters. Try to find a way to cooperate between all of us, and maybe also the national IGF heads and regional ones. Maybe they can also help their countries to have interpretation services for their own participants.
This side, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Adriana Castro. I'm a professor at Universidad Externada de Colombia, and I'm addressing this panel as a member of the Colombian IGF. I would like to share some of our experience. First, there is an evidence that experience of national, regional, and youth on internet governance are possible, as well as have tangible results when implemented with commitment, openness, and continuity. Colombian IGF National Initiative has 11 years of experience. We have identified best practices to foster inclusive and participative work on the discussions and contributions to the decision-making for the digital economy. Let me list some of the lessons and benefits of a multi-stakeholder governance. First, a permanent and neutral space for dialogue among different actors, including youth, and promoting their participation and empowerment. Second, meaningful participation and input to the consultative processes as GDC and WISIS Plus 20 as an evidence of the link between local, regional, and global initiatives. Third, to contribute to policy and regulatory initiatives. In Colombia, for example, this year there were some initiatives on the protections of children online, gender violence online, and AI policies. Fourth, the main areas of work are defined with the participation of the multi-stakeholders. For these years, they have been established 4 subgroups regarding digital well-being, meaningful access, safety in the web, artificial intelligence, 5. And the fifth is a specific group on appropriation and strengthening the internet governance in Colombia. We have considering also some options for further work. to evolutionate within the model. The sustainability of the NRI's both financial and management issues have to be addressed. Continue articulating NRIs with global forums.
Can you please wrap up?
Yes, I will just end. Continue collaborating on building a multi-stakeholder agenda and to promote more exchange between NRIs. The future of the IGF will define the future of the NRIs. The great outcomes achieved as a result of the work in the previous years can be graded with a continued and inclusive model. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience from Colombia. Next, please.
My name is Grace Gidaiga. I speak here on behalf of Kenya ICT Action Network. That's KICTANET, the conveners of the Kenya IGF. KICTANET just convened the 18th Kenya IGF this year on May 16th. So we are one of the oldest NRIs. And, you know, we've had support, including from IGFSA, and we are very grateful for that continuous support to our NRI. Now, what have we learned? I just want to speak to three key things very quickly. One is the value of multi-stakeholder engagement. The Kenya IGF has allowed us to dialogue on critical policy concerns in the country. And that way, we've been able to harness ideas and perspectives from the different stakeholders, and therefore able to engage the government on those pain points when it comes to internet governance. The second thing is on capacity building. And we've also learned that it is essential to bring in new voices, for example, through the Kenya Internet Governance, the Kenya School of Internet Governance, where we bring in fresh voices every year before the Kenya IGF, and they include youth, women, and marginalized groups, mainly to broaden participation and sustain that effective internet governance. And finally, we've learned the need to be adaptable and transparent. You know, we were able to still hold the Kenya Internet Governance Forum during COVID. We adapted virtual forums. This year, when it was announced that we would have the Global Internet Governance in June, we adapted immediately and were able to convene in May. So we see a lot of value in having the Kenya IGF. We see a lot of value in having the IGF because it allows us to dialogue very honestly some of these issues that we are not able to speak about, and then adapt them into our context. But how do we sustain that? Funding is an issue. Kenya has been lucky because we have had a multi-stakeholder approach, even in funding, where businesses and the regulator support the process. But how do we entrench this? I think that's a big question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will ask the other interveners to keep it, please, to 1 minute so that we can continue. But before I turn to you, I think I have a comment from Joyce. Joyce, please, very concisely.
Thank you. And thanks, Christina. And thank you so much to our friends from Kenya and from Tanzania for bringing up this very important issue of sustainability of the NRIs. I'm going to take off my hat for APR-IGF and all the other hats I'm on, but put on my hat for the IGF Support Association as a member of the Executive Committee to say we have funded and have been funding and continue to fund NRIs from the developing economies and putting our focus squarely in these areas. I think it's really important that the NRIs consider how you could have longer-term sustainability that could be apart from the IGFSA in that sense. I want to point to you that we had a Day Zero event that was convened by the IGFSA to talk exactly about this issue, which is the sustainability of the NRIs. And how to think more long term. I think when we are talking about the WSIS plus 20, just bringing us back to the topic of the session, we must not forget that the NRIs are a critical piece of the IGF. And when we talk about the sustainability of the IGF, it is not just the IGF annual event, it is also the NRIs. So we need to have this collective dialogue. We need to try and find ways to do better in that. And so I really applaud Tanzania IGF for sharing this news that you're considering to have your own trust fund. I think that's just excellent. And we need more initiatives like that, more good thinking and creative ideas to have a longer term sustainability model. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce. I will have one question from this side and then another from this side. And please keep it to 1 minute so that we can have all the lineup. Please.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for your insights and sharing the learnings of the youth journey. My name is Vanessa Lemos Campos. I've been supporting a group that is supporting a project that is subventioned by Interreg, that is interregional fund from the European Union for the collaboration between countries. And this is a region enabling Greater Copenhagen, Swedish West Coast, and one part of Norway. Here, I would like to ask more about the example that you mentioned, Agustina, if it's time about, I'm originally from Colombia, born and raised there, about different groups that you said it was an example of different segmentations in groups. So, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Agustina, if you can wait a second, we'll take another question and then we can have your answer, please.
My name is Jenna Fung. I'm the coordinator of Asia Pacific Youth Internet Governance Forum. Thank you for the opportunity for interview. I will take my privilege of having this 1 minute to share some of my thoughts. This session is about multi-stakeholder, the future of digital governance beyond 2025. And we have been talking about youth engagement for a long time. In recent year, we could see that stakeholders wanted and also advocate for ending tokenistic participation of youth. And I'd appreciate all the insights of all stakeholders sharing at this panel and in this forum this week. But if we want to talk about the future of internet governance forum or digital governance in general, we should include youth more proactively. And I want to also take the rest of my 1 minute to show my appreciation to stakeholders who support Asia Pacific youth community in the regions, because we have been doing a lot of great work, and appreciate stakeholders, including governments in our regions, who spend the time to read some of our input in considerations for the WSIS plus 20 discussion. But I would like to emphasize once again, if we want to talk about the future of internet governance, we should end tokenistic participation of youth now, because we've been talking about that for at least 8 years of my participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right on spot, I think. I will give the room, Agustina, in a half a minute, if you can answer very quickly. Or can we take more? Okay, better to take more. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. My name is Claire. I'm part of the German Youth SGF, and I participated in yesterday's consultation. We heard a lot about, I think, common ground points, right? Like we are from the multi-stakeholder approach for the IGF mandate and the role of the NRIs. And we were wondering whether there's some interest in sort of participating all together in the upcoming consultation, and maybe as NRIs together sort of show our voice, and yeah, whether you would be interested in some kind of partnership to sort of have a joint statement on those key points.
I thank you very much for this suggestion, which I think we take note of. And are you done? Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Do you hear me? Thank you very much. I am Yao Susu from the Youth IGF Benin, and I also support the Secretariat of the West African IGF. Regarding at the topic, multi-stakeholder digital governance beyond 2025, the title of the topic speaks real well to aligning ourselves in terms of supporting the prolongation of the mandate of the current IGF. Also looking at the non-official, non-paper from the Australian government, my question to the panelists, how do you see a suggestion of rebranding the name of the Internet Governance Forum to the Digital Governance Forum? Because we are not only discussing Internet issue, but all issues related to digital itself. And it's not only about a technical issue, we are discussing issues related to policy as well. And it's not only aspect discussion we are having. And on the other front, regarding the youth engagement, thanks Chen for talking about the tokenization of youth participation. I think at this point, youth have proven that they have capacity and leadership to continue the work to be done. How do we make sure that the youth can gain more capacity, more mentorship to continue their work, and more supports, not only financially, but sustainably coaching them so that we have more results and the different NRIs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your questions. Please, sir.
Hello. My name is Jose.
1 minute, please, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Please go ahead. No, 1 minute, sir. Please, your intervention in 1 minute.
Okay, sorry. My name is Rodolfo. I am the coordinator in IGF Brazil. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here and contribute to such an important debate with so many brilliant colleagues from our network of the NRAs. I will not repeat other colleagues' important points. My intervention is brief and especially focused on the roles of the NRAs. We have been increasingly hearing a resonant message recently. The importance of considering the NRIs as a special asset within the WSIS Plus 20 review. The renewal of the IGF mandate ends on something I believe is a growing consensus among the community. NRIs have grown in size, participation, importance, and impact in global, regional, and local realities. NRIs are intended this special asset, and they deserve an even more central role to play globally. NRIs should be considered as key catalysts for considering networks of knowledge, expertise, and the privileged resource for bridging strategic contacts and relationships, following up all levels of the ecosystems. At the same time, they boost the process and the results of the IGF and others related forums, and also established bonds that will, from one side, help include more countries and regions in the global debate and also foster local debates on global topics of interest.
Please wrap up, sir.
Okay, helping generating positive impacts on local and regional policies stemming from global consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're having a question online. If someone can read it from the microphone.
Apologies for this. We are asking the technicians in Zoom to unmute the remote hub from Benin to address the floor. Thank you.
Okay, please. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Pons Light from the Gambian IGF NRI. I just want to share a few examples what our NRI has done in terms of good collaboration, especially in respect to the government of the Gambia having two focal points at the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy involved in the IGF process, and this has made the UNDP in Gambia to support us, and it has also led this collaboration, our members of parliament, to be able to make the Gambia rectify the Malabo Convention, which a lot of African countries have yet to do in 2022. At the sidelines of the IGF in Ethiopia, and I'm proud to say now we have a youth leading and chairing our IGF process in Miriam Job. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here now. So I believe it's important for we to all bring our governments to be fully involved in the process, and we'll see an IGF really grow at national and regional level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are we going to have the question online be read? Can we give the mic to the online moderator? We can't hear very well.
Oui, je remercie toute l'équipe d'organisation.
Thank you to the team. I have a question. The interpreter will do her best. We can see some specialists for protection in terms of judicial questions. And I'm speaking from the remote hub in Abrikalavi. So my question is about digital governance and multi-stakeholder governance. Should there be a platform for African developers that would be more adapted to their own realities in terms of economy, and also to help the local civil society and regional civil society?
And I'm sorry, I would like to apologize. If you can phrase your question in less than half a minute, I am willing to give you the floor because we need to have the final remarks. Please, would you like to very quickly say your point? Please.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please, but very quickly and very briefly.
Yeah, just to share that for sustainability, what we have done in Nigeria was to get our government, right from time we have agencies under the Ministry of Communications. They are part of the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee, so they fund the Secretariat. We also have the equivalent of Barron's organization, that is the .ng managers, they also fund. And the parliamentarians are now interested in what we are doing because we have been involving them. So, and they now want to be, they have the buy-in. And at African level, in our communique, we also said that we want to support the renewal of the mandate of the IGF at that level. So, I mean, when we get the buy-in of the government and parliamentarians, or the executive and the parliamentarians, we know we can sustain our initiatives, and not just the NGOs or the civil society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, I will apologize to you because time is up, because we will have just half a minute closing remarks, maybe one sentence that you would like to send out. Byron, I will go first with you.
One sentence.
One sentence, yes, please. Just something for our rapporteurs to push forward.
Global internet governance is messy, imperfect, frustrating, and it's made incredible progress. I can see one of the founders of the IGF here, and I'm sure 20 years ago he had no idea that it would turn into something this significant and would have this many NRIs doing remarkable work with remarkable stories like we've just heard. Period.
Good point. Thank you. Grazie.
One sentence. Well, I believe that we need to increase outreach and visibility of the work that IGF is doing. If multi-stakeholderism is to thrive, it cannot remain an elite and abstract concept. It has to meet people where they are, in their languages, their communities, their platforms, and that is what will turn consultation into creation. And I think there has to be some partnership with the media. It has been undertoned in this forum, the whole forum. I think it's about time we bring in the media into the forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Dekla?
If we want multi-stakeholderism to thrive, we have to invest in it. I think that ultimately a lot of issues come down to resources.
Thank you. Very concise. Christina?
Creo que tenemos que tener en mente siempre que los NRIs son el...
We have to consider that NRIs are the heart of IGF. We have to work bottom up. We have to work with NRIs and IGFs from other regions. We have to include new persons and other groups. We have to look at the impact they can make, and above all, include the young people in the sessions. They need to have participation on an equal footing with other groups.
And I think you can play a very special role to demonstrate how the multi-stake model is practiced in reality. So don't feel like you shouldn't be at the table or you can't be at the table. You need to claim your space at the table. Thank you.
Sarai?
States often face marginalization in our global decision making. However, with the multi-stakeholder models, this brings us together as choice measure. It brings us together at the table. Government, civil society, academia, private sector, and technical communities. So this offers a chance for greater representation of our voices in shaping digital norms and policies.
Thank you. Ahmed?
إيمانا بتعددية أصحاب المصلحة أنا شايف إنه من الضروري مواصلة العمل نحو حوكمة إنترنت أكثر.
We need to make this multi-stakeholder model, we need to strengthen it so that we have an IGF that is present on the local, regional level. We need to apply this model to the internet governance, and we think there should be more integration, more example, less duplication.
That CGI.br, the Secretariat of the Brazil IGF, has advised that they have some printed copies of the Net Mondial Plus 10 principles, which I invite, since we talked about them, I invite you to visit their booth and grab a copy. And with that, I thank you all for your active participation, and I ask you to join me in thanking our distinguished panel for all their valuable interventions. Thank you very much, and the session is closed.